Hi everybody, welcome to Tuesday. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux, the Court of Public Opinion. Pete's with us, and so are you, and thank you. Whether you're listening to us as an iPod or you're watching us on Facebook. Thank you for joining us in the garage. Happy birthday if you're having a birthday. It's the 14th of February. It is St. Valentine's Day. Happy St. Valentine's Day. Did you give anyone a card, Pete?
I'm thinking about it.
I don't know that people go out and buy Valentine's Day cards the way they used to. I mean, I don't know. The only note I've got on it here is the year was 270. 270. St. Valentine dies giving birth to Valentine's Day. I suppose that's sort of clumsily written, but I guess I get the gist. When he dies, he gives birth to St. Valentine's Day. And he died on this day in 270. Some sources say it might have been 269 and others say 273, but my source has gone for 270. Anyway, what else happened? Alexander Graham Bell and Elisha Gray apply separately for telephone patents to the Supreme Court. Now, eventually, they rule that it is in fact Alexander Graham Bell who held the patent. Now, whether that meant that he got there first, or they processed his patent first, or I don't know. But, you know, one of those little historical things that the two had applied for the patent on the same day. Golly. James Cook, British explorer, navigator, cartographer, discovered and explored Australia. 1779. He explored Australia, Pacific Islands, and New Zealand for Britain. He was killed in a fight with the Hawaiians at the age of 50. But this was the day in 1779 that he came a-knocking. Richard Nixon installed secret taping systems in the White House. It's an interesting story about all of that. You'd probably be aware of some of it here in Australia. Anyway, that was 1970. Richard Nixon installs his secret recording system. Dorrie Previn, American singer and songwriter, dies at 86. 2012. Dolly the sheep. You remember Dolly the sheep? Dolly the sheep, the first mammal to be cloned from an adult cell, dies young from a progressive lung disease, aged just 6. But the beginning of some interesting scientific maneuvers or shenanigans, or call it what you will. Dolly the sheep, 2003, that was. Australian currency is decimalised, and decimal currency postage stamps are introduced on the same day in 1966. Do you remember the jingle? Yeah. Obnoxious bloody thing that was. 1975, P.G. Wodehouse, English-American writer, Bertie Wooster novels, dies at 93. That was in 1975, the original Dracula film with Bela Lugosi. That genre began with him? I don't know. But anyway, the original Dracula film, 1931. Margaret E. Knight, American inventor, invented the flat-bottomed paper bag. Wow. Described as the female Thomas Edison, born in York, Maine, died in 1914, but born this day in 1838. Britain's Jane Torval and Christopher Dean famously dominate the ice dancing at the Winter Olympics in Sarajevo. performed to Ravel's Bolero in a free dance routine, recorded 9 out of 9 perfect scores from all of the judges for artistic impression. Ah, the things people have done to Ravel's Bolero. It's a bit like Je t'aime in many ways. Have you heard that? I heard somebody in preparation for Valentine's Day talking about the great love songs. What was the greatest love song of all? And I listened patiently because I thought somebody was going to mention Je t'aime. But no one did. 1978, the first microchip, patented by the Texas Instrument Company. Golly. The apple parer, something a little less high-tech, patented by Moses Coates in Pennsylvania, 1803. Have you wondered about the apple parer? Jack Benny, the American comedian. He was born in 1894, and in 1962 the US First Lady of the day, Jacqueline Kennedy, conducts a White House tour on television, the first ever. Anyway, happy birthday or wedding anniversary if it's your special day. Talking about the day that Tricky Dicky Nixon introduced secret tape recording facilities to the White House. Let me say first up that the present government, is perfectly right in getting rid of or sounding the alarm about these Chinese-made surveillance cameras and security systems. They say that they are possibly communicating vital information to China. And these systems are employed, and I'm talking about thousands of different circuits. But I guess the ones they're particularly worried about are defence and foreign affairs, let alone, of course, the Prime Minister's office, our equivalent to the Oval Office in the White House. There would be surveillance and security systems everywhere, and all made in China. I would think very difficult, in fact, to buy any electronic equipment that wasn't made in China. Possibly communicating vital information to China. Would they have the ability, the logistics, to actually go through all of that stuff? I mean, the mountains and mountains of intelligence would pour in. Oh, I know they've got a lot of people there, but are we not being a little paranoid? What about every other organization and business with surveillance cameras and security systems, all made in or with componentry made in China? On top of that, of course, we've got the story about the fact. Now, it read, I must admit, it read like fact. It stated that all cars made in China, and there's a growing number of cars made in China, even cars that you wouldn't perhaps suspect of being made in China, like the MG and the Volvo, and there are lots and lots and lots of them. All of these cars made in China are gatherers of sensitive information, able to compromise the security of the individual, the company, and indeed the country. Well, I don't know about that. I don't know. It's easy to be paranoid, but I must say, just because we're paranoid, it does not mean that they are not out to get you or us. But I come back to that thought. I mean, if you don't buy your electronics these days made in China, where are you going to buy it? Where are you going to buy it? Is there anything electrical that we buy or componentry therein that isn't made in China? Where is AWA? Well, I know where it used to be, in Ashfield in Sydney. It had a great big sprawling acreage where they made everything from traffic lights to every every appliance and entertainment facility you could possibly imagine. AWA, great Australian brand. Where are you now that we need you? Oh, I'm sorry, you were put out of business, weren't you? You see, we couldn't produce things as cheaply as they could in China. The inevitable simply happened. But where does the buck stop with this business? It's going to cost an awful lot of money. I mean, you're talking about billions of dollars, I would think, if you looked at all of the security and security cameras and surveillance systems and security systems, particularly around Canberra and government offices and law courts and God knows where. That was to put it in. It's going to cost about the same to take it out. And to replace it with what? Is no security better than Chinese surveilled security? I don't know. You answer the question. But you can't blame this government for that, because it's obviously been a practice that's got under the radar, which of course would also be made in China, forgive me, for years and years and years. Doesn't matter who's in office, what political party. They would all seem to have had some sort of hand in making decisions that employed or deployed this doubtful, now suspicious surveillance equipment. I've spoken before about the politicising and the weaponising of Aboriginal people. May I say this, and I sort of halfway with my tongue in my cheek. The Premier of South Australia, Peter Malinauskas, who is a decidedly presentable individual, if I could put it that way, has an Aboriginal flag on his lapel. You, sir, I must point out, as again I say partly with my tongue in my cheek, you, sir, represent the entire state. The entire state. Not just one section of it. And when I went looking, I didn't really know, but it seems that the Aboriginal population of South Australia is 43,000 people. Now that's a little over 1% of the state's population. Then you consider the Greeks, the Chinese, the Italians. Those communities all outnumber the Aboriginal community. But if you watched the news, and particularly the ABC, you would swear that that was completely false. I don't know whether we can expect the Premier to give prominence to other groups, ethnic groups, and don't forget the French, if you are. We should be in there somewhere, with my French blood, I mean. I can't understand Australia Post losing, according to this story, millions and millions of dollars. Now their solution to this problem is charge more for a stamp and reduce the service. Charge more and give less. Ridiculous, ridiculous. The answer is be more competitive, give more value and better service. And don't price yourself out of your own diminishing market, is another piece of advice I would give you. You see, Australia Post has the basis of a fantastic business. As I reported to you last week, it's in the top 10 of the most trusted brands in the country. Most of us would find it, as a logo, one of the most recognisable businesses in the entire country. It has a network, a nationwide network second to none. They have a monopoly, a national staff of really good people. What's the problem? What is the problem? I don't honestly understand it. Thank you very much for being with us, ladies and gentlemen. Pete and I really appreciate your company and your support, and of course always your comments. Thank you very much for joining us in the Court of Public Opinion, which is our garage, or the garage. But we'll be back tomorrow. Believe in yourself, and goodbye for now.